which means that the breeze is a lot more consistent than some of the venues we've been to. The water is a lot flatter, which means the sailors can really push these boats to the absolute limit. So it is a little bit choppy, but I still expect to see the sailors pushing hard, and we've already seen speeds up to 90 kilometers an hour.
So if you're just joining us here in Bermuda, the USA team is out after a capsized yesterday during practice racing, so it'll be 9 international teams. We're under 90 seconds away from the start of race number 1. 3 full fleet races today, and then 2 more tomorrow before the event final. All right, Stevie Morrison, everyone's excited because the wind is up. This is one of the best tracks anywhere in the world, and I think everyone's excited to show what these F50s can do.
Yeah, it's perfect conditions. Here we see, New Zealand, surely the team to beat. They've been on fire for the last 4 events. What are they going to do here?
Here we go, 1 minute away as they get themselves into the start box position. 9 teams out racing with the USA unable to go this weekend. That's going to hurt their points chances. Meanwhile, at the other end of the table, New Zealand now on top on the overall standings, 68 points. Australia, the 3-time reigning champions, sitting in second with 59.
Always so much to be learnt in the first race of the day in the new venue here as we see the start line, red line across the bottom of our screen. That blue triangle in the middle, that's effectively our pole position. That's the perfect place to start. However, we know that so often it's about hitting the line at full speed. That's the absolute key to getting this right. Late into the box, right-hand side of our screen. Great Britain and Rockwool Denmark already up and foiling. Top of the line, New Zealand are already in. France looking for a late run, I think, with 15 seconds to go. Favoured pole position at the moment is this star at the top of the mast here, suggests the best place to stay on Canada. Australia now show us the best, middle of the line, big gap for Australia. How's your timing, Tom Slingsby, in the middle there? Perfect start for the Australians. That's absolute magic from Tom Slingsby. Disaster in New Zealand, but back with a bang here in Bermuda.
Hard gas here in 2, 1, half on.
And as they approach mark number 1, it is the Aussies and the French out in front. We've got 7 legs here on race number 1 here at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix.
Tactical control with Slingsby on board the Australian boat there, and he used it well, gave the French a little nudge. He leads Delapierre around mark 1. It's tight in the pack though. New Zealand somewhere near the back. Rockwool Denmark, they are all chasing the Aussies as they are already setting up. Looking at mark 2, Tash Bryant in the back there. She's got to head out the boat. Strategist, got to be looking around, finding the opportunities. Just entering the boundary on board France. Suddenly the right of way turns to the French. Australia have got to keep clear. They manoeuvre fast in front there. Both boats should be well lined up for gate 2. Perfect manoeuvres by those 2 boats. And it's just about execution of boat speed from here.
Look at these speeds, easily in the 60 kilometers an hour.
Yep, here we've got France, fastest boat on the water at the moment, 69 kilometers an hour, but the Australians are hot on their heels. Now, for those of you in the US, miles per hour, 44 miles per hour.
So it's Australia out in front, France and Canada, the top 3. And let's not forget, Stevie, Canada unable to practice yesterday as they were doing some testing for the T-foils. That comes up next season.
They were out early today, though, the Canadians. They've put an aggressive move back here. Switzerland have got to keep clear. Tight manoeuvre for the Swiss. Can he keep out the way? Right of way now with Canada. Switzerland needs to keep clear. It's going to be tricky for Switzerland from here. First round, Australia. Second, France. And then to split the course, it's Canada. Great opportunity now, Todd, to learn a bit about the course. Was it good to do the left turn as the Australians have, or good for the Canadians doing the right?
Well, the Canadians certainly made life difficult for Switzerland as they pick up a penalty. Nathan Outers now almost comes to a dead stop, and now they're a complete roadblock as Emirates, GBR, and Denmark try to work around them.
It was always hard where the Swiss had to manoeuvre right in front of the Canadians. Phil Robertson, aggressive move, beautifully executed by that Canadian team. And yeah, the Swiss are out the back door here. As soon as you're off the foils, it's going to be very painful today.
Ready for attack. Stand by. On down in 3.
And here we've got the wind speed across the course, so it's fairly even. The Australians on the top of the screen, 26 kilometers an hour. Canadians at the bottom, a little bit less. We did see them with similar numbers before, but clearly going into a lull now towards the center of the course.
Throwing a lot of numbers at you here. This is race number 1, leg 3 of 7, and France has now come off the foils.
Oh, Todd, another unforced error. You just can't afford that in these conditions. It's flat water, it's easy foiling. These are silly mistakes from the crews early on in the day here. We'd not expect that, and that's going to cause them a lot of problems. Really, they've lost a lot of distance. Canada already through the fleet, and we can see at the top of their mast there, look, Canada 100%, Australia 100%, but France 91%. Foiling efficiency, they fell off the foils, they've been punished.
We just saw a message there from race management saying that GBR went outside of the boundary, so penalty there for them.
And this is a large course, Stevie. We've had much tighter courses throughout season 4, but this one, plenty of room to stretch your legs.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting course. It's a real tactical course. The wind's a little bit shifty, it changes direction. What does that mean? Well, if it changes direction in your favour, you've got the opportunity to minimise the distance. And I think this is a real day for the strategists to have their head out of the boat. We saw them not having their head out of the boat enough in New Zealand. We had some crashes, collisions, but now can they spot the tactical opportunities on the water?
And we've seen a lot more of the team's playbooks changing a little bit to accommodate that. So keep an eye out for that strategist at the back of the boat and how they position themselves on board. We've seen a lot of the time strategists now going to leeward a lot more, sitting on the other side of the wing to keep an eye out for other boats.
Speaking of stretching their legs, the Australians way out in front by 200 meters as they approach gate number 3. We check it down on the water, and the Australian, Lisa Darman. And Lisa, how have the conditions changed, or have they changed since we started this first race?
The conditions are pretty similar. Obviously, the wind is up. It's not moving too much in terms of the amount of pressure, but it is slightly shifty. So the Australians, they had a really good angle, so they essentially, I think, sailed less distance on that one. That's why they were able to gain on the Canadians. So, yeah, all over there are some light patches where people are getting stuck out, but really it's boat handling that's pushing them off the foils.
And Stevie, you always talk about what do you want to do, better angle, or do you want to make more maneuvers? And right now it seems like the Australians have found the perfect formula.
Yeah, there's a compromise to be had all the time. There's a chance to get yourself in a more favourable bit of wind, but if you have to manoeuvre to do that, you know you're going to lose distance. So you've got to see that the gain I'm going to make by going for that bit more wind or going for that more efficient angle to sail is going to make up for the 60 metres I'll lose when I manoeuvre. So the teams are always playing a compromise. I think there we saw that Australia's tactics were really good and the French only lost out because of that poor manoeuvre. So control what you can control. You should be able to do good manoeuvres. Let's be accurate with those manoeuvres.
And here is exactly what you've just said, but in number form. So the Australians sailed the shortest amount of distance compared to the Canadians and French, and that's how they've stretched away. So had their eyes out the boat, spotting the correct shifts, and because of that, they're able to sail less distance.
Almost all the teams now of the 9 that are out on the water. The Americans, of course, not sailing today. The 9 are all on to leg number 4 of 7, but Australia way out in front. Then it's Canada, France, New Zealand. Remember, it's 10 points for a win, all the way down to 1 point for last place, but everyone's trying to accumulate enough points that they make it into the top 3 and the event final coming up tomorrow.
Doesn't seem too mentally jaded by what happened at the last event in New Zealand, Tom Slingsby, does he? Absolutely clinical for the Australians. You know, they've been here, they've sailed here a lot before. They are the ultimate champions of SailGP, 3 times overall season champions, and just absolute perfection so far from these Aussies.
And Stevie, I want to stay with Australia because a lot of us, we were talking about Tom Slingsby. How would he react to having those points deducted? When you saw that incident, was there room for him to do anything else? Of course, he was trying to stay away and not run into the Canadians and Phil Robertson, but was there room, in hindsight, what could he have done differently?
Hindsight's very easy, isn't it? I think he could have maybe seen the situation coming a fraction earlier. I think it probably jumped up on him once he started reacting. I think maybe his only decision was that, but I would have thought, in hindsight, he could look back and say, I could have seen that earlier. But the most important thing, he will have analysed it. He will have hopefully put it to bed in his head. We know how much Tom likes to kind of carry these things, but clearly right now we see middle of our screen working their way back into the wind, nearly 300 metres ahead of the next boat. He's clearly put those gremlins away from him right now, and that Australian boat's sailing well. But don't underestimate the team around him. He's got a very strong team. People like Carl Langford, Kinley Fowler, Tash Bryan at the back. They'll have all had a work with him. Don't worry, Tom. Let's just get the ship moving forward again.
And we also know just how skilled all of those sailors are. Looking at the data from yesterday in the practice racing, one of the things that we noticed was that their platform is the most stable. They're foiling almost the highest, but they're moving so minimal in that range, and that's all down to Jason Waterhouse.
Leg 5 of 7. This is race number 1 of 3 here. The first day of racing at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. If you're just joining us, the U.S. team capsized yesterday, damaged their wing. They can't race. The Australians coming off an 8-point season point deduction, which bumped them from first into second place behind this team, the Black Foils of New Zealand. Lisa Darmanin, you're Australian. You've been around that team a lot there on site. how confident are the Aussies with this boat, because they had to do so much work on it. The electronics, the hydraulics, everything else, it looks like it's sailing pretty nice.
Right there.
I mean, I think the Australians, they really haven't let it phase them. Obviously, they've turned up, they've got a new beam, and they had one day sort of practicing, just checking that, you know, everything was working properly. But these are really their conditions, especially if they get round Mark 1 first. They are just so happy. That team is so in tune from the back of the boat to the front of the boat, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. They're in front, but they're not playing it safe. They're just pushing and extending their lead. So this team, this is where they really came together back in 2017 with the addition of Jason and Tash, but I think they're just having a great time sailing here, to be honest. It looks fantastic. I'm a little jealous.
It does look perfect. I think what's noticeable, they all look so comfortable. The whole Australian team, they're all sat a little bit lower in the boat most of the time. I think that's a consequence of the water being flatter here, the wind being quite steady. The Aussies are really looking at the low-winded setup, but we see Canada second place. New Zealand, they have the right of way here. They've closed the gap on the French, potentially past the French here, moved by the black foils up through the fleet. Canada probably are going to have to do one more manoeuvre to get round unless they can just squeeze it up to that right turn in a few moments' time. New Zealand look good though, they're going to split left. Canada are going to look to turn right. Another chance for a gain here by the black foils. They're on the charge.
5, 3, 2, 1, turning now.
And the voice of Phil Robertson as the Canadians split the course as the Kiwis go left, the Canadians go right. It looks like Content de la Pierre and the French will follow the black foils around that left side of the next gate. So Australia way out in front. Then you've got New Zealand, Canada, and France, and Germany now appearing in the top 5. Everyone battling for a 10 points. That's for the win. And Stevie minimizing these deficits, trying to stay in that top 4 or 5. You can have one bad race in this thing, but you cannot have 2.
Yeah, I mean, pressure already on Great Britain. They're out the back of this race, and as we line up here, Australia down the road on the top right hand side of our screen, they're looking well set up, but an interesting tactical situation with New Zealand and Canada that will play out over the next minute or so. New Zealand will have to do more manoeuvres, but last manoeuvre here for Slingsby should be one more move and then left turn at the bottom to the finish. Here we go. Canada, top left of our screen, they have the right of way over New Zealand. But can the Kiwis get down to the gate with no more turns? How are they going to deal with Phil Robertson? Advantage Robertson at the moment, but expect a late move from Pete Burling as he charges at them.
So the Australians make the turn around the last gate, and it'll be a straight shot to the finish line. And race number 1 here, day 1 of the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix will go the way of the Aussies. Tom Slingsby with a beautiful rebound here in Bermuda to take the win.
Perfect work by them. Look at that. What a finish. Here we go. Advantage Canada now. New Zealand must keep clear. He ducks away behind him. Canada are ahead of them again now, but as they approach that final mark, it could be 2 more moves for New Zealand, but they'll have the right of way as they come in at the bottom. It's going to be so tight here as we come down. Canada are fast. France are fast. New Zealand on the inside, I think, will have to do 2 more manoeuvres to get round the mark, but they do have the right of way. Can Burling and this New Zealand crew keep the boat fast enough? He must turn on the yellow circle. Canada is going to be fast.
So the Kiwis have to deal not only with Robertson and the Canadians, but also France and De La Pierre and Content De La Pierre. He spins it to the inside. Look how close they are.
Canada have got the advantage here. New Zealand must keep clear. Robertson just needs to stay fast. He slingshots around the outside. Brilliant by Robertson. And that set itself up a long way out, but it's going to be Canada bringing it home second. The black foils up to third. And the French, well, good first race, but they'll be disappointed to drop back to 4th.
A masterful job by Phil Robertson and his Canadians as they put the slingshot effect in as they get around New Zealand to claim that 2nd place finish and the points that go with it. New Zealand settles for 3rd, France will come in 4th, and Germany again a top 5.
That's brilliant by the Germans, and this is a big move here, Todd. Denmark were last early on in the race here. They've sailed a very good final upwind, and they've got themselves back to 6th. That will be a counting result here. That could be a big, big result for Rockwool Denmark.
A counting result, but I think they're still going to be disappointed, especially after Christchurch and the penalty points. They really need a good performance here to solidify a position in the top 3.
Nikolai Sehested brings home the Rockwool Denmark squad, and look at Emirates GBR. They are coming on fast. All this is the battle for 8th and 9th place. Nathan Outridge and the Swiss, they are almost dead in the water. Both holes now up. They're trying to get sailing again, and it looks like Giles Scott, he might work a little magic here on the final leg.
Oh, I can't believe the Swiss took that long to get back on the foils. That's surprising. There's such good wind here. Oh, they've just flown a bit too high. Struggling a little bit on the Swiss boat right now. That was a big loss. Every point counts. They lost a lot of distance there, the Swiss. I'm surprised how long it took to get back on the foils. Relatively new team together there, but you've got to think Nathan Outridge is going to be pretty upset with that performance there by the Swiss team. Promising early start. It's all about consistency.
Promising indeed, especially if you're a fan of the Australians, as Tom Slingsby and team, they bring it home with a dominating win on race number 1 here at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. This is event 10 of 13 here on the Great Sound in Season 4. Give it up for the Australians. They take the win. So we say thank you to Bermuda, and we say thank you to Emily's mom. Stevie, 2 minutes to go. The Germans had a great first race, finished in the top 5.
Yeah, I think they're going about their business really well and really quietly. You got Eric Heil there, 2-time Olympic bronze medalist, but new to this hydrofoiling, catamaran sailing, and I think he's got a bit of experience with James and Stuart. But the sailors like Sophie, Felix in the team, they're bringing a really good learning environment on board that boat, and they're going about their business really quite efficiently. They're slowly getting better. 5th in that race, a great start to regatta. They're executing good, but they're controlling what they can control, and that is the key to any successful sport team. So I really like what I'm seeing at the moment from the Germans.
How about the French? This is one of those teams, Stevie, that's in the hunt to be in the grand final in San Francisco. They currently sit in 4th place overall with 54 points.
Yeah, I mean, a huge team there. Olivier, Mathieu, the grinders on the boat. They were in this SailGP from the very first season. A few mistakes in that first race, but they're coming into form at just the right part of the season.
So 1 minute to go before the start of race number 2. Remember, we're scheduled for 3 races today. Australia winning the first race as all the teams get into the start box. You'll notice the Stars and Stripes not there. They had a capsize yesterday, damaged the wing, unable to repair it overnight, so they will miss out. We'll have 9 teams racing here now as we approach 40 seconds before the start of race 2.
Here we go, boats already lining up here. Something for us to look out for in the pre-star. The little gold square at the top of the rig with a black star in it. And that's our theoretical, perfectly positioned boat to go towards the start line. So they will, in theory, get to the mark first. We saw that middle of the line was favoured. Here we go. But Canada right now, they have the gold dot with the black star. From the position they're in right now, should they execute things well, they should lead at Mark 1. Tight to do that, though, of course. I like where Australia is. The Swiss coming in at the bottom of the line there. Struggling to find some space, as are the Spanish. Canada still well positioned, still predicted to be first at Mark 1. Can they execute? Watch for the line to turn. White. Perfect start there at the gun. I like where Australia and Germany are here. Canada are going fast at the top of the line, but I think the Germans, if they can hold on, are going to be able to stay on the inside, but they've got the Rouge rocketing over the top of them.
One coming up slowly here.
It's race number 2 as they approach mark number 1. Germany on the inside, Australia off to their right, and there is Canada. The top 3 teams, they go 3 wide in mark 1.
Theory's great, but practice is the reality of things, and Germany hung on the inside there. Tactical advantage. Canada have got to keep clear of Australia. It's tight back in the pack. New Zealand out the back. Expect them to manoeuvre away first. As Slingsby's looking for space.
Canada turns away as the Germans ride the Australians right up on the border.
Yeah, we see that dotted line running down the screen there. That's the boundary, so that's when the right-of-way switches between the teams. Australia manoeuvred well, but the Germans executed brilliantly once again, staying in control of what they can. Canada are in there again. Phil Robertson on board there, got his head out the boat.
How about the Spanish?
Yeah, well, Spanish manoeuvred well first. They're going to have another manoeuvre to do at the bottom of the course, though, here. So I think it's interesting. I'm not sure what Germany got a penalty for there. Interesting. We'll have to find out on their boundary penalty. Here we go. Race management message. They went a little bit wide on the boundary.
The Spanish going for their manoeuvre hit. They have had brilliant speed down this leg so far.
The Germans, to lose their penalty, had to slow up a little bit right of way with the Spanish. Australia spin the boat aggressively. Wow, Tom Slingsby not scared of still slinging this Aussie boat around. He's going to be tight at the bottom of the course, though. Will he make it down with no more manoeuvres? He's on the inside. He has the right of way, but he's going to be slow.
2, 1.
Perfectly executed by the Aussies. They've done a nice job there. Well judged by Slingsby.
And Stevie, that's a question I've got for you. Was Australia intending to go that side of the course, or did they have to take that side or dip behind Spain and lose even more distance?
I think they would have liked to carry on, Todd, in that situation and save themselves a manoeuvre, but Bottini had sailed really fast on the downwind. He had the right of way. If there's someone in your way with the right of way, you've got to make the manoeuvre, but Slingsby executed it perfectly, held on to the lead, but yes, he's now probably on plan B.
So here we go. We're on to leg 3 of 7. This is race number 2. And it is again the Australians out in front, but Spain is up there with them. The Germans are up there on the top of your screen. Look at Phil Robertson and the Canadians just lurking in the distance.
So breeze across the course at the moment is quite up and down. We're seeing everything from 18 kilometers an hour up to 25. Currently, a little more pressure with the Canadians at the top of the screen there, coming across now. They've also had more space on their own. The Australians have been quite close with the Spanish, so good news for Phil Robertson.
The boat, I think, has done a good job of finding space, and space in amongst the melee is the New Zealand boat of Burlington too. They were way back. They got the right of way over Denmark here, potentially already up to 5th. They were dead last at Mark 1, and they've done that by finding space. We heard, interestingly, an interview with Phil Robertson and CJ on board the Canadian boat. They said the Kiwis are rapid. Well, you're only rapid if you can get yourself in space. And if you watch this race the whole time, most of the boats moving up our screen, New Zealand, they're in space on their own down here. That means they've got the opportunity to sail the boat at 100% percentage. If you're in the pack, it's so hard to go fast. Easy for the Canadians though, and they're absolutely nailing it at the moment. Watch out for the New Zealand boat. They're definitely on the move.
And here's that head-to-head, the average speed. So Canada leading the pack at the moment, 60 kilometers an hour of average speed. The Aussies a little bit slower, but they have had a bit more to deal with around them.
Coming up on the halfway point of race number 2 here at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. Lisa Darmana down on the water, on the course. Lisa, are the conditions the same as what we saw in race number 1? And do you think they're going to change or forecasted to change for race 3?
The wind was supposed to moderate just before start time, so it has done that. If anything, it has dropped off a little bit. So as Phil and CJ were saying, it is a little bit difficult to stick those manoeuvres with those smaller foils, but most of the teams are building before the manoeuvre. So you'll see they'll put the bow down a little bit, they'll build their speed, and then they'll do their turn. It is quite shifty, so I think, you know, that Australian team, they did get overtaken because of that big right shift, and the Canadians were able to capitalise on that. So they'll split at this gate, and we'll see how early the Australians choose to drive and get over the right-hand side.
And Stevie, while Lisa was reporting down on the water, we saw Germany with a big dip, and they came almost to a complete stop.
Yeah, pushing a bit hard, Todd, they were, and they just flew a little high there. The boats want to be at 100%, they want to be flying at max height. Trouble with being on the edge is if you go over it, things get messy pretty quick. Look at that, New Zealand 3rd, last at Mark 1, gate number 3, 3rd. I mean, they are fast, fast, fast.
So it's Canada still out in front, Australia in 2nd, the Kiwis, the Black Foils in 3rd. Denmark has moved up to 4th place, with Spain, who were running the top 2, now dropping back to 5th. And then Germany, as we said just moments ago, with a big moment on board. Eric Heil, though, righted the ship, and they're back up and running. Here it is again.
Yeah, just on board the German boat. Look at the foil to the left-hand side there. That's showing how fast they're going. And they just get a little bit too high. They get the boat a little bit too leaned on top of them, and it jumps out the water there. See, that foil comes up. They work in water, not in the air. And if you get too high, you get air around it. That's what happened there. As soon as there's air around it, crash down.
So back to live racing here in Bermuda, leg 4 of 7. Canada still out in front. Their lead now down to less than 100 meters, with Australia closing in. So again, we're going to have a great battle here between Phil Robertson in Canada and Tom Slingsby of Australia.
Rounding up in 3, 2, 1.
And they'll split the course.
5.
Emily, you like the strategy with Slingsby going the opposite way?
It will be interesting to see what plays off here. Last time, obviously, the Canadians went the other way. They made big gains out of that. So whether that reverses, we will see. But both boats have a lot of space.
Tight moment there. That might have been too close by New Zealand. He pushed it so close with the Spanish. The Spanish look like they're round anyway, although New Zealand are on the inside. So New Zealand have the right of way now. Those rules will very quickly change over there. Aggressive from Burling. He slammed it inside. Botine there, really, really close, but he peels away. He's off the foils. Should be a quick build for the New Zealand boat from here, but that is a mistake.
Really bunching up here. There you see Tom Slingsby, the Australians. They are currently in 1st place. Canada in 2nd, but this is very, very close.
There's 2 boats out in front now. They've got space. They're in good shape. Canada showing as having a nice lead. Spain, they've taken a boundary penalty as well. Sailing a little bit too wide on the course. That, you know, you don't need to make that costly error there. They might think they're going to gain a little bit going wide, but no, you lose 20 meters relative to your top speed. Look at the Aussies here. All of them on their knees, trying to minimize the windage, so their visibility's down a little bit. but they're making gains on the aero drag. The team that's making the gain right now, Rottwell Denmark, top of our screen, up to third.
On the bottom left here, we're showing the foiling efficiency. So this is just a little guide to see what exactly the teams are doing on board. So right now we can see New Zealand, Spain and Denmark, they're all flying around that 0.7 of a meter height, which in these conditions is quite safe. It's a little bit choppy out there. We don't want to sky the foils.
Yeah, we'll get the right side at the top, mate, so rolling up. Definitely righties on our inside.
There you go, so Tom Slingsby's planning way ahead. Of course, the whole key to this racing, can I be proactive rather than reactive? He's trying to plan ahead, and he's talking about, okay, we're on this side of the course, we might be making a small loss right now, but I'm happy to make that loss because it means I'm going to get a longer-term gain by getting the right turn mark at the top of the course. So he's probably going to have to dip behind the Canadians, but he's hoping to turn right. Looks like from here, Canada are going to try and match that right turn as well. Tight for first and second, as we see Spain picked up a penalty on the Kiwi boat there, so that'll be costly for the Spanish. They've got to drop behind the Kiwis. That penalty will come off fairly soon with the manoeuvre they've done. Battle for third, fourth, fifth and sixth is really tight. Watch out, Canada, you've got to keep clear here. Australia's got the right of way. Aggressive manoeuvre by the Aussies. He forces them off the foils. Lead change. Apologies for a little bit of language from Phil on the back of the bus there. All got a bit tense on board that Canadian boat. Aggressive from Slingsby, but that was exactly what he talked about 30 seconds ago.
Phil Robertson gets up close in person with that beautiful colored water that he saw just moments ago. So it's Australia now in front, Canada, Great Britain and New Zealand your top four.
Todd, it's Star Wars Day, May the 4th, and the force was with Tom Slingsby there. He saw that coming a long way in advance, made it stick, and what a gain. Look how tight it is though. Rottwell Denmark, they're up to third. Burling chooses to split the course. He's going to turn left. It's all on now for this final downwind. Third, fourth, fifth, and even sixth tied together on a pretty short piece of string here. It's all going to come down to accurate manoeuvres.
And it will be really interesting to see if the Danish can hold on to this third place. Yesterday in practice racing, we saw that the Danish were matching the Australians' form downwind. So they're flying quite high, they're slightly bowed down, about 2 degrees, and that allows them to sail really fast. So it will be interesting to see if they can hold off the Kiwis. But
here we go. This is like 6 of 7. It is Australia, the winners of the first race, out in front. Their lead about 100 meters over Canada, and it may come down to that last gate, Stevie, the move that Tom Slingsby put on Phil Robertson to take that lead. So if this goes the way it is right now, it's going to be the exact results that we saw in race number 1. Australia 1, Canada 2. Where is New Zealand? They've fallen back just a little bit as Denmark and Nikolai Sehested have moved into third place, and the Kiwis dropping back to 4th. So Tom Slingsby makes one more turn and about 200 meters straight shot there on the Great Sound, and another win will go into the account of the Australians. Remember, it's 10 points for a win, all the way down to 1 point for last place, and the Australians do it. Back to back, they work their magic, and Tom Slingsby claims yet another victory here on the Great Sound.
Wow, you do not want to make this Australian team angry with penalty points, do you? They are seriously coming back to get their season back on the books. I think they're just good wind at that right turn at the top there. The Danish made a big gain over New Zealand. New Zealand having to do a last little dive in at the mark there. So solid gains, a great camera angle here. You see the darker patches and the lighter patches of the screen there. Well, that's difference in wind. That texture is what the sailors read. Fantastic camera angle, shows us it is a pretty gusty day out there. There's big opportunities to overtake. And well, Tom Slingsby, he overtook when it really mattered.
And look at Spain coming in hot on Emirates GBR. Can they close the gap in time to pick up another position? Emirates GBR is going to push them a little bit wide. Great sailing by Giles Scott, as he will claim 5th place for Emirates GBR. Spain will have to settle for 6th. Disappointing for them, Stevie, because they were the top 3 of the first 2 legs. Nathan Outers will bring the Swiss into 7th.
Yeah, they got themselves a penalty versus New Zealand. They had what we call port and starboard, which is a fairly basic sailing rule. And right-of-way boat in that situation was New Zealand. Spain didn't keep clear, and they've been penalised as they should be. So mistakes are costly. Germany, look, they were up in 3rd place early on in the race. They came a little bit high on the foils, fell off the foils, back in 8th. The French as well, good first race. Little mistakes are going to absolutely hammer you when the conditions basically shouldn't mean mistakes are happening.
Eric Heil brings it home into 8th place, so the Germans back up a 5th with an 8th. And this is a big head scratcher here as France and Quentin Delapierre go from a 4th in race number 1, and they finish 9th in race number 2. That has to be their worst one, or they're not going to make the final. Here's how it stands right now. Australia on top, 20 points. They've won both races. Canada has got 2nd in both races. And And Stevie, this is where it gets kind of interesting. New Zealand and Denmark, pretty equal, 15-13. But look at all those teams locked in at 9th. With 9 points, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, it's tight, but let's not forget, Todd. I mean, they're all professional athletes out here. They're all paid money to be here, of course. But there is bonus prize money. There's $400,000 to be won out of this event. And then for Australia, I think it's interesting to see how they've come back. You know, Tom Slingsby likes the titles. But don't lose sight of the fact that in San Francisco, when we get there, that grand final race, there's $2 million on the line this year for those people in the final. Not saying Tom Slingsby's motivated by money, but he's come back with a serious bit between his teeth. And yeah, we say they're professional athletes, but there's some fairly serious prize money carrots out there for them to help motivate and sharpen the performance, let's say.
Under 2 minutes to go, and thinking about $2 million in San Francisco down the line. That comes up, of course, July 13th and 14th. Right now, let's go down on the water. Get a prediction from one of our favorite Aussies, Lisa Darmanin.
Oh, I'm going to sound biased, but those Australians, they are looking so on today. They're looking comfortable and relaxed. So I'd be surprised if them and Canada weren't 1-2 again.
Okay, so there you go. Canada looking good as well. They've got 2 second-place finishes, 90 seconds to go. Emily Nagel, I'll put you on the spot. These are your home waters. Who do you think is sailing the best right now outside of Australia? Who has a chance of knocking the Aussies off their win streak?
Outside of Australia, we've definitely seen good performances so far by the Canadians.
Yep.
That's hard to ignore. They've been sailing really well. We can't forget their very first event was here, and they sailed brilliantly back then. So all eyes on them.
Final minute of preparation before the race is on. Race number 3. Can Australia make it a clean sweep on day number 1? Can the Canadians move 1 step up the rung? And will teams like France and Spain, Stevie, rise up and take this opportunity to get some points?
Yeah, I mean, certainly Canada are being the spoilers here for Spain, Rockwool, Denmark, and France. They're really on that battle for the top 3, of course. And Canada will hope to get there. They probably do need an event win, but Phil Robertson, he's the master starter. It's really a masterclass in starting that gets these Canadians at the front. It's tight at the bottom of the line. Look at that, Australia, Denmark, France, all manoeuvring close for the pole position towards the bottom of the line there, towards the right-hand side of our screen. Who's in the pole predictor position at the moment? We'll find out soon when we see that gold dot on the top of the lines, but I like where Switzerland is. France are quite close to the line. Germany up and foiling, Spain foiling, bottom left-hand side of our screen. All about timing here now as we see the line getting ready to turn white. Who's got it right?
Here we go.
Start by Botin at the top of the line, the only boat at full speed. He's hammering in fast here. Phil Robertson's got it out of the gun as well. He's going, well, it's going to be Spain, Canada, Australia vying for first at Mark 1.
And as they approach mark number 1 in the 3rd and final race of the day, it is Spain on the outside, Phil Robertson and Canada coming in tight on the inside, and it will be Spain that gets the whole shot here in Bermuda.
What a start by Botin there, Todd. He was absolutely hammer down, pedal to the metal when the gun went. Perfection from the Spanish. Slingsby still in the mix, out the back again, New Zealand. He's not got his starting happening just yet. But anyway, that doesn't matter for us right now. Diego Botin on board this Spanish boat. He's given himself a chance. Can they stick the lead?
Could they get a win here? That would be huge. Spain coming off a 7th in race number 1, a 6th in race number 2.
And a 2nd at the moment for the Canadian team. Really good consistency for them.
Speed, not bad indeed.
Well, it wasn't bad, Diego, but that jibe you just did there was not great. They turned on the downwind leg, they got a bit slow, and look at the angle difference and the speed difference there. They executed the manoeuvre not particularly well. Canada nailed it, and very soon the Canadians are going to start to put some disturbed air. And we heard there, Botin, he already is compromised by the Canadians. We heard Denmark saying left turn, head towards that side of the course favoured. Canada are perfect for that. Botin's looking to spin away and turn right.
Rounding up in 5.
Could be a potential loss of places here for the Spanish. They've already lost 1. Will they lose the Australians as well?
Look at Denmark threading the needle through the fleet right here as they dip behind Switzerland. All kinds of congestion, and it's Phil Robertson that makes the turn first. Slingsby goes with him, so there they are, the 2 best teams so far on the right side. Diego Botin and the Spanish go left.
Eyes on the Canadians here. We heard from the Danish before that the right-hand side of the course is where the teams want to be going. That's been favoured previously. See if it pays off this time.
Camera angle there, it looked like pretty dark on the water there. We see looking through here, they see that darker colour on that right-hand side of the course where Canada are compared to the left. That's not an illusion. That's slightly more wind on that side of the course, so this should be good news for Canada. But can they execute a good enough manoeuvre? They're off the foils, and it's tricky to foil on these small foils in this light winds.
Okay, shift.
Big loss already.
So currently it is showing that the Canadians have slightly more wind speed, but they did go into that big lull, which caused them to come off the foils. So it is still all to play for. Lots of holes out there.
So you heard a talk of a shift out on course. We'll go down in the water, check in with Lisa Darmanin. There's talk of the breeze letting up just a little bit. Lisa, can it hold on for another 10, 15 minutes?
Okay.
It has died off, but I mean, the gusts are still just as much as we've seen, but the discrepancy between the light patches and the dark patches are way more. So Spain, Denmark, they came out way stronger out of that manoeuvre, but now Australia, Canada, they're heading to the side where I'm sitting. There's more pressure, and I think it will give them a really nice angle into the next mark. But as we were saying kind of earlier in the day, there are overtaking lanes out here, and the fleet seems a little bit more congested than they were in the previous races, so a little bit more elbows out potentially.
Yeah, and Stevie, to your point earlier, how Peter Burley likes to stay away from everyone. It's like he's allergic to the rest of the fleet, and that seems to be what Nikolai Sehested is employing, is he is finding spots where he's all by himself. Right now, currently sitting in second place behind Spain.
Yeah, often the key to this game is, can I, sail myself at maximum potential? You need to be in space to do that. Burling's making it hard for himself today. See the Spanish out in front, and of course, big moment for them really in their season, because Spain, they're one of the teams that's not privately owned. There's a lot of speculation about who's going to get ownership of these teams. Spain need to find a new buyer, and look at them there. They're doing a good job of selling themselves.
And here we've got those live speeds, 45 kilometers an hour. That's 30 miles per hour, which is faster than the legal driving limit in Bermuda. So these boats are going faster than any cars nearby.
You never sped in Bermuda when you were living there, did you? No comment. Gate number 3 as they make their way through. It's Diego Botín and Spain out in front. Denmark in second. Australia sitting in third, and Canada in fourth. So the same villains still lurking at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, and that good decision at the bottom by, well, maybe not good decision even. Spain didn't want to turn right. They had to choose to turn right, and they made a gain. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, as we see back in the pack there, Switzerland just ahead of New Zealand. New Zealand are taking a few places, but back in 8th. They're making life very difficult for themselves. Same for Emirates, Great Britain. They're just not seen themselves in a podium position yet on board that British boat, and they need to start seeing some form fairly soon. As right there, New Zealand off the foils, and look at the discrepancy in speed.
They are the overall leaders in Season 4 on 68 points. They won the last event, their home event, so the Black Foils just adjusting to the water here. New Zealand so far today has sailed a 3rd place, a 4th place. To Stevie's point, they currently sit in 8th place.
3, 2, 1, look, turning. Heavy margin.
Voice of Diego Botín.
Yeah, that's Botín there talking about the manoeuvre there. He just turns just in front, but they get a little bit heeled over there. Not perfect. You want that platform to stay a little bit flatter. Too heeled, but still, it might not be too disastrous. Are they going to make it down to this right turn? They will be slow. Rockwool Denmark coming fast on the outside. I think the Spanish team are far enough ahead here, but expect the distance to close up a little bit as we start heading upwind.
All the way. 3.
The boat that I'm most impressed with so far this race is the Danish, who have gone from 5th to 2nd.
Tight moment though with Canada and Australia. Canada gives the Australians a nudge. The Australians now have right of way on the inside. It's aggressive between these two. Canada get a little high and a little hot round the outside there. Wow, that was tight in the pack.
Canada set up. Yeah, let's
Both teams involved with collisions in the last few events, and it is Canada. Phil Robertson plays it smart, shows his maturity, gives Tom Slingsby something to think about, but no contact made.
It's almost like Phil's growing up, isn't it?
Denmark in the lead, Spain in second, Germany in third, it's Australia up to 4th, and Canada your top 5.
Look, quietly moving up the fleet, Todd, top of our screen towards what we call the right-hand side of the course, Germany. Showing us 3rd right now. We've got a manoeuvre to do. That'll cost them a bit of distance, we know that, but they will have the right of way. Not sure how well have they executed that manoeuvre. Yes, they're up over 40 kilometres an hour, should still be foiling. Germany making a move back up through the fleet. Showing us 3rd. I think they're probably really in 5th at the moment once the cross winds itself out. Good performance by the Germans, but at the moment, Can the Spanish hold off the charging Danes?
You talk about good performance by the Danes and the Spanish. Disappointing for me as a fan, France. I thought in these conditions, Stevie, France would be one of the teams at the front.
Yeah, I think so. I think interesting there, on these high-speed foils, you're seeing that all the boats are losing relatively a lot more distance when they manoeuvre. That's because they're having to sail at a very aggressive angle to get the speed up to stay on the foil. They're having to turn a long way, again, to keep the speed up, and that's really hurting them. So to do a foiling manoeuvre, which we know to be key, is very, very costly of distance. So every time you manoeuvre, it's tricky, and I'm not sure the French are liking that.
And here we've got those average speeds of our top 3 teams. Now, Australia are showing as having the highest average speed, but they are sailing more distance, which is very costly in these shifty conditions.
You see the percentage on board. That is the percentage of fly time in this race. Spain near perfect. Australia 97, Denmark 97 as well. So that is why they are at the front end of the marks right now. The top teams making life difficult for the rest of the fleet here on the 3rd and final race of the day.
Okay, we've got a split coming here, Todd. We've got a left turn coming for Spain and Australia. Denmark are going to turn right. Looks like in the short term, Denmark are going to sail a bit more distance, but there seems to have been more wind on the side of the course where Denmark are heading. So it'll be interesting how this plays out. Slingsby, he hasn't made a lot of mistakes today, so the fact he's turning left is interesting, but I think it just was to save manoeuvres. There seems to be good wind on that side of the course, as Canada and New Zealand are very tight. The Kiwis are right back in this when it matters. Canada are got to stay clear. Whoa, another great move. Aggressive there, forced the error, New Zealand. And Burling, he's like Harry Houdini in these conditions. He pulls a rabbit out of the hat when he needs to. New Zealand were at the back of the pack there, up to 4th, and he's dropped the Canadians off the foils. They got a penalty to do. They're going to have to lose a lot of distance to clear that penalty, and they're off the foil. You are hemorrhaging distance when you're off the foil.
You just don't want to poke the bear, and Canada got full sense of it as they drop back with the penalty, Emily. They now go to 5th place as New Zealand has moved up to 4th.
And that's going to be critical on that overall leaderboard for this event, because that will narrow those points down. New Zealand might be able to leapfrog Canada and move into 2nd place.
So the race is on leg 6 of 7. They're getting down to this end of the course on the right side of your screen, and then it'll be a quick left-hand turn. One more maneuver here coming for Spain as they're in the lead, but here comes Australia and Tom Slingsby with a lot of speed coming up to mark 6.
You see the path behind Denmark. Look how they had to change angle there. I think he was trying to get contact with Australia, couldn't make it happen. He's had to re-accelerate. So now Denmark are going to be really fast here. Spain are gone. Forget about them. This is a race win for Bottine. Australia's going to spin on the mark, and here come Denmark. What can they do? Can he stay fast enough to get round the outside? If he can get overlapped, he can get alongside Australia. Expect an aggressive move from Seherstedt.
Oh, so very close as Nikolai Seherstedt is running the Australians off course.
I thought he was a nice guy on the race course. That was aggressive from Seherstedt.
The Great Dane goes full Viking on the Aussies.
Oh, aggression from Seherstedt. That's what we want from Rockwool, Denmark. Big move. Slingsby kept clear. He'll take 3rd. He's had a great day out in the water, and Burling out of nowhere. This looked like this could have been a painful race for the Kiwis, but they've saved it, and it's turning into a painful race for Phil Robertson. He was right at the front of the fleet. One mistake, and now Giles Scott on board Emirates Great Britain. He dives inside. One more manoeuvre for each team.
They do. I think they do.
I'm driving. My wheel.
And look at this. Look at this at the final mark. It's Phil Robertson to the inside of Emirates GBR.
All the way up.
Another aggressive move. Robertson must keep clear here. I don't think he did have room to go in there potentially at the mark, but Emirates Great Britain did not do a nice job of that final turn, but they've done a brilliant job on this final leg of shutting the door on Robertson. How costly will that be for Canada? It's getting heated.
Eric Heil slides into 7th place with the French taking 8th. In last place for the Swiss and Nathan Outridge as they will finish in 9th. So, Stevie, there's lufting someone and then there's making it stick, and that time Nikolai Seherstedt was making sure the door was not only shut but slammed and locked on Tom Slingsby for 2nd.
He's got a match racing background, Nikolai Seherstedt, and we've always seen perhaps a calm, calculated Danish team. They talk about one race at a time. Let's get things right. He went full grizzly bear on the Australians there, and what a move by Seherstedt. Made it stick when he needed to, and that's a really good day for the Danes. Big day for the overall leaderboard, I'd say there, because France are not going to be happy with that performance.
The conditions look absolutely perfect, as Lisa pointed out. We've got a beautiful setting today as we bring to close the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. This is event 10 of 13.
The course for race 4 is 5 legs. The axis is 030. Wind is approximately 17 kilometers per hour.
All right, Emily Nagel, this is your neck of the woods as we come up on 90 seconds to go. Why is this day going to be so dynamic with the conditions that we have?
Well, it's going to be really interesting. With 17 kilometers an hour of wind, that means there is enough breeze to get up on the foils. We've got the light air boards, which does make that easier. But maneuvers, there's still going to be a lot of them. We know it's a little bit shifty out there, so that means the wind direction's constantly changing by up to 20 degrees at times. So teams are really going to have their heads on a swivel, strategist, eyes out of the boat, and really looking for that next shift.
And we are 1 minute away.
And here we go, bottom left corner there, you can see the race to the final, and of course that's crucial. Australia, nice lead. New Zealand, they're hunting down Denmark. It's going to be a big fight. As we see on this pre-start, the boats are already in position. I think the lighter winds today, all that does mean is the disturbed air off the different wings is around about 3 or 4 kilometers an hour less wind when you're sailing in the wind shadow of some of these boats. That's a way bigger percentage of the wind speed than we're used to seeing on the other day. So the wind shadow and the disturbed air by the other boats around here is a bigger issue. New Zealand now well positioned, middle of the line. They struggled with their starting yesterday. There we have it, the yellow mark at the top with the black star in it. That's our pole position predictor. They're in the perfect position in theory to get to Mark 1, but Spain have got a job on from there, as of Great Britain. It's about timing now. France coming in with a lot of speed. Can Delapierre find a gap? He's too quick. That's going to get really tight. How he threaded the needle through there. Canada well positioned. France seem to have got through, but it's about acceleration now. Switzerland really well positioned here. Nathan Outridge on board that Swift boat's going to roll over the top. He's going to be really, really fast in there. And there we go. France fouled to Denmark. That's a big moment for the French. They're going to have to drop back behind them, but for the Swiss, here we go. Here's your chance for glory.
And as they approach mark number 1, it's Nathan Outridge and the Swiss team out in front.
So New Zealand taking a bit of a swerve off our screen to the left-hand side. They're trying to clear a starting penalty. They were forced up over early. They're way out the back at the moment. They've got to drop behind the fleet by Mark 1. And the French have got to drop behind the British as well. We can see both boats trying to clear that penalty at the moment as Switzerland, Germany and Spain. Well, it's great news for the Spanish. They need a good result for their season chances. And there's a few of the more teams that are more used to being towards the back of the pack in Germany and Switzerland, leading things away. Good news for Canada as well.
So a little bit of chaos in the start, and France pays the price. They are in the very back right now. This has not been the event for Quentin Delapierre and the French.
And here on the bottom left, we've got the live speeds, currently 55 kilometers an hour, or 35k an hour, headed downwind, so not as fast as we were seeing speed-wise yesterday, but with those big foils, the foiling should be more consistent.
Stevie, this is a near disaster for Peter Burling, the Kiwis. They're currently in 7th place, and they're in that battle for that 3rd and final spot. But we saw this yesterday. They were in 8th and 9th place and came all the way back and got a top 3.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be almost a standard move for the Kiwis at the moment. I think maybe they're trying to keep their fans entertained with the comeback, something like that. No panic yet on board the New Zealand boat, and that was a little bit made the fault of the French coming and putting a bit of an attack on them. So here we go. They're coming into this bottom gate. They're probably going to be looking to see what the fleet in front of them does. How do we find space? No such problem for the Swiss and Nathan Outridge. There you go. Saving manoeuvres, keeping it simple. It's all about trying to find the wind. Great shot looking upwind. Darker patches on the water. That's more wind. Generally speaking, good news if you can get yourself in more wind, but it's shifting, changing direction. And the Spanish, that's a little bit of an unforced error. They turn for the Mark II early, and they're going to lose a lot of speed here. Going to be a bit of a roadblock in front of Germany, and that's good news for one team and one team only. That's the Swiss. They're away down the road. It looks light in front of the fans, bit less breeze at the bottom of the course. The crews need to allow for that.
So the Germans pass the Swiss. They move up a position. Everyone else just trying to find that pressure, trying to find that wind. Remember, it's a shorter course than we had yesterday. Just 5 legs today instead of 7.
There we go, look at this shot here. We can see the Swiss, they're up and foiling. Boat leaning nicely on top of them. They were struggling for foiling stability a little bit yesterday. No doubt they will have looked at that in the debrief. Important to remember for everyone out there today, we've got our light wind package. We've got bigger foils on, more lift, and I think the crews are just more used to using this foil configuration.
Currently, wind speed across the course is looking pretty equal in strength, but that doesn't mean the shifts across the course are the same. As we can see here, the Swiss have done very well on that right-hand side of the course, extending that lead. Really cool to see the Swiss and the Germans in the top 2 in this race.
Yeah, 2 of the teams that are near the bottom of the overall standings right now. In fact, they are 9th and 10th respectively. And Nathan Outers, the skipper on board Switzerland, running things. They've got Lauren Matreau and Will Ryan, just to name a few, in that crew right now. Stevie, we've talked about this before, Emily as well. If you get out to a great start and you find space, especially on this Bermuda course, you're going to have plenty of options.
You've got all the options. I think Emily mentioned shifty wind. What do we mean by shifty wind? It doesn't mean it's up to something funny. It means it's changing direction a lot. So for people that are new to watching SailGP, these ladder lines on the course here give us an idea, A, of where the pitch is, where the fleet are moving. But if they're sailing more directly up the ladder line, and that can often mean there's a good wind shift. If the wind rotates in their favour, they'll be able to progress up these ladder lines quicker. We can see at the moment, roughly 45 degrees each way they're crossing those lines, no problem. It's a fairly even shift in the wind.
And here is how the points are looking in this race to the final. So Australia still leading the charge, but Canada and Denmark solidifying their place in that top 3. And now the Spanish could be on the edge of qualifying.
That's going to make the Aussies very happy, as they were taken off that top spot in the overall standings by the Kiwis. So if they can keep New Zealand out of that final, Stevie, that means that Australia will pick up 3 or 4 points on the Aussies, who lead them by 9 in the overall.
Yeah, this thing's we won't like that. Great camera angle here. We've got shows the Swiss have got a really nice bit of space here. We heard Nathan Eldridge there, happy to do 43 through the lulls. So a lull means a little bit less wind. And he's happy for the boat speed to only be 42 kilometres an hour. I think an interesting number for people to keep in their heads is every time they want to turn the boat, when they want to tack it, they've got to be up at around 43 to 45 kilometres an hour if they hope to stay on the foil. So stay tuned to those numbers at the top of the mast you can see right now. They give you a good idea of are they going to be able to do a good manoeuvre or not.
Coming up on this gate number 3, and then they'll make the turn back down the course. Remember, we've got 2 fleet races for you today, and then after those 2 fleet races, the top 3 teams will race in a one-off to take the title here in Bermuda at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix.
Might go left at the end.
Canada look quick to me, right-hand side of our screen. They've moved up well. Nathan there talking about the Canadians. He's not too worried about where they're going to go. Knows that Canada can't make the gate without another manoeuvre. Neither can Spain. So this is going to mean a big lead for the Swiss. Great performance after, I've got to say, a pretty disappointing performance by the Swiss yesterday.
2, 1. 2, 1. Taking it off.
A nice piece of sailing there for Switzerland and Nathan Outers as they make the turn first. They've got a sizable lead. Not really factoring into making the the event final, I should say, today, Emily, but Switzerland, it's good to see them out in front, as you mentioned, with the Germans.
And any improvement that they can make from each race, each regatta is huge for them, because could put them in a good position going into next season.
Look at this, here we go. We see it's very tight with Canada and Denmark at the top. That's a real battle for the final, but New Zealand, they were in a tussle with Australia. They've come out on top of it. They've worked their way up to 6th. They're slowly crawling back through the fleet. Germany will be the next boat in their sights. The New Zealand boat is definitely the fastest boat out on the race course when they give themselves space, but they're just struggling to get space off the start line at the moment.
So on the left-hand side, we'll continue to update the teams that are in the top 3 positions as it stands right now. Remember, one more fleet race still to come after this one, but we're on leg 4 of 5 right now, and New Zealand currently mired in 6th.
I don't want to go past.
I still wouldn't write the Kiwis off. Yesterday, we saw them, they didn't have the best starts, but then they would sail up through the fleet. And then when we looked at the data, it was really clear that they were actually sailing a lot less distance than the other boats around them in the packs. Really spotting all those wind shifts, and I think that's down to Liv Mackay at the back.
Head-to-head here, and we can see the speeds on the boats. There's some big differences, but that's generally when the boats are manoeuvring. You see those big changes. Here we go, Nathan.
So we're not going to lay in. We're just going to do 2 jives and keep it in a fast mode.
So what does he mean by that, Todd? He means he's not going to make it to the mark. Well, that was obviously a second ago. So there's the first of his manoeuvres, first of his jibes, turning the boat downwind. He's going to look to get somewhere nearer this yellow line before he looks to go back down, and that should mean he can make it to the next mark with no more problems. Big course though, isn't it? Look how wide the course is. That's a lovely course for a sailor out there. Lots of tactical opportunities, lots of different textures to the wind, those different colours we can see. Denmark are in good wind at the moment towards the top right of our screen, but I think they're going to struggle to make an implant and overtake the Canadians, because the Canadians have got it well positioned. Switzerland look good for the win here.
Here we go at gate number 4. It is Switzerland looking clear to the finish line.
And on the bottom left, you've got that race to the final. It's still Australia, Canada, and Denmark that currently would go through, but it's all to play for Spain.
In race number 4, it is Switzerland that comes out of the gate the fastest, and they take it all the way to the finish line for the victory.
That's a good result for them. And Canada, what a big overtake there by Phil Robertson. He's judged that beautifully at the bottom of the course. Those points will be important. The New Zealand team won't be out of this yet. Of course, remember, we've got one more race to go here today. As we can see, Canada, what a great move. Germany putting an attack on Rotterdam, Denmark in the background. Important points for Phil Robertson here, though, coming in for a second.
So the Canadians will hold on for second place with Spain right behind them. And here comes Denmark looking very fast as they close the gap, but it won't be enough. Denmark will have to settle for fourth. Germany will come in a top 5 position.
I think it's really important to remember we've got one more fleet race with all the boats in. Australia are closer to the pack now. New Zealand won't be too far away. And we've got, you know, oh, sorry about the industrial language coming off the boat there. That's a bit of frustration from what happened on the pre-start with the French. Australia, aggressive move in front of Great Britain there. Wouldn't be at all surprised to see a button press from the Brits there. Very aggressive turn by Slingsby. And as they go around the mark, Slingsby's got to keep clear of Emirates Great Britain in front of the fans.
Awfully tight, and look at this. Giles Scott is going to do the same thing that Nikolai Sandstedt did yesterday. Try and run the Aussies off course.
Oh, tensions are high on the water out there. Apologies for a bit more language we're hearing coming off the boats. They're fighting absolutely aggressively at each other, but big error by the Australians there. He's going to be frustrated. Lost another place. That's going to put the pressure on Slingsby to make the final here in Bermuda.
And we are going to have a very tight next race. On the points, we have 5 teams all neck and neck with points, with both Spain and New Zealand sitting on the outside of that top 3, tied on 27 points.
Oh, well, I know the pressure's on for this next race, Todd Harris. Well, they've got a really strong team out there, that is for sure. The big grinders at the front there, big Julius looking around at us there. Hallstrom, he's a man mountain, and he's putting a lot of horsepower down for a bit. I think Tom Johnson will be letting on quite hard here. Spent a lot of time racing in Bermuda in his time. Wing Trim has a pretty big role out there today, trying to get the boat speed out of the boat. But as Nikolai said, he's got to try and get this boat off the start line, and for him and Katja, that'll be priority number 1.
2:30 now to go before the start of race 5. This is the final fleet race with all 9 teams. Usually be 10, but if you're just joining us, the USA had a practice incident. They capsized, damaged their wing. They're unable to sail this weekend, and that's going to cost them big in the overall standings, missing on those points. All right, Emily, this is your neck of the woods. What do you think with the conditions we have? Who do you like in this very important 5th and final fleet race?
Well, they're on screen now. The Spanish have done so well whenever the conditions have been like this, when they're using those light air boards. The Spanish just know how to maneuver so well on them. And as we've seen today, they're already off to a great start. And I really hope they make it into the final.
We'll go at 140.
And the Kiwis, Stevie, they kind of are on the outside looking in, but as we saw yesterday, they have a way of finding, salvaging points here or there. May not get a 5th, but they'll get a 4th. May not get a 7th, they get a 6th. They find a way. But now this is a pretty tall mountain for Pete Burling to climb.
Well, it's something he's done before. I mean, how much was season 3 did we see Australia scraping finals and then winning them? That's all the Kiwis will be thinking. Ultimately, for me, I think if he nails the start, they can run away and win it. He's not started well a weekend. He's admitted that himself. Now's the time to step up because they need a good one.
New Zealand has gone 3rd, 4th, 4th, and this last race they finished in 6th. So still an opportunity for them to get in that top 3. Remember, it's 10 points for a win, 1 point for last place. So all eyes are going to be on those 3 separate teams: Canada, Spain, and of course New Zealand. All teams now in the start box. We are just 1 minute away from the final race. So positioning is key, and I've got to wonder if France and Quentin Delapierre are going to abandon that last-second charge up the middle, because that could have been Sears' problem.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like he was trying a little bit too hard there. He had a difficult day yesterday. They just got themselves back into the overall standings in Christchurch, and then they had a hard day yesterday, and he's tried to force it a bit for me, I think, on that one. He's out the back now.
Yep.
He's going to be coming at a late run at it, but let's hope he doesn't go for the middle of the pack. Bottom of the screen, Canada well positioned. New Zealand a slightly better position than they were in other races. The Swiss again foiling. So, well-positioned Canada right now. Switzerland, oh, it's a little bit loose on board the Swiss boat. Oh, it's more than a little bit loose. It's really loose on board that Swiss boat. They're going to put a bit of a roadblock in the middle of the line. That's great news for New Zealand. New Zealand, Canada, Australia are predicted to be the pole sitters at the moment, but here come France, left-hand side of your screen. How's your timing at the top here? There's going to be no room for the French. Spain are shutting them out. Going to be a good start for Australia, and it's going to be a good start for Denmark. New Zealand are on the front row, and it's now a boat speed race. All 5 of them are well positioned, and Canada out the back. Disaster for the Canadians. Denmark, Spain, and New Zealand. It's a sprint.
The Great Dane, Nikolai Sehested, when the pressure's on, he delivers. Here we go. Fleet race number 5, and at Mark 1, it will be the Danes and the Spanish with New Zealand in the mix.
Spain just did enough to get over the top there. Tactical positioning by Denmark meant they hold on to second, and New Zealand their third. Well, this is the first look at the front of the fleet for those 3 boats. Spain are away. Can they make things stick? But the big story here is going to be Canada. They're way out the back. Look, they're only just rounding Mark 1 at this stage. Australia are in the pack as well. The sprint down to Mark 1. The tactical positioning in these next minutes are going to be crucial. Here go New Zealand, first to manoeuvre, spin out behind Rockwool Denmark, well judged by Pearling. Not a lot of distance there, and now it's a speed race down here. Who can find the best breeze? Who's well lined up for gate 2?
And it is close on that race to the final. Currently Denmark 38 points, Spain, Australia both on 37, and the Kiwis on 35. That could all change so quickly.
And New Zealand have done well there. That manoeuvre surprised the Danish. It was aggressive by Berling, perfectly judged, and the black foils, they're lined up well. If they can make it to gate 2 here, look how high they've got that black Kiwi boat flying out of the water. They're pressurising the Spanish. Spain have the advantage, but they'll all be wanting a simple left turn, is my guess from here. And New Zealand are back in it. It's really tight in the pack. Australia are about to gain the right of way. They'll be coming back towards Denmark and France with that right of way.
Are we clear on down?
Very crowded at gate number 2. Spain in control. Here comes New Zealand. Now they are up to second place, which would put them into the event final.
Disaster for Rockwool Denmark. The French have manoeuvred in front of them. New Zealand indecisive. That was rare moment by Berling. He ummed and ahed about that one. That's let Tom Slingsby split the fleet in 2 there. Rockwool Denmark are out the back. New Zealand have put themselves out. If he had manoeuvred a little earlier on that New Zealand boat, he had the opportunity to cut across in front of Australia. How much are they going to regret that on board New Zealand? And more importantly, how much are Rockwool Denmark going to regret it? Because they've dropped right back in the pack. Great news for Slingsby in Australia. Great news for Spain. Martini's gone. He's down the road. And it could be now a battle for that 3rd place in the final.
This is a shorter race than we had yesterday. It was 7 legs yesterday. Because of the wind, they've shortened it down to 5 legs. So this is going to go really quick. There you see the Australians. They currently sit in 3rd place. They've got a spot in the final if it stays like this. Spain out in front. Germany up to 2nd place, non-factors.
And that bottom gate caused havoc in this race to the final. So that shifts it around a little bit. Australia and Spain and Canada will currently go through to the final if this holds.
But look how tight it is coming across the screen here. So Spain and Germany have the right of way. New Zealand have wriggled themselves back into it. Australia, they're well positioned. Basically all these boats are pretty much neck and neck at the moment. There's not a lot in it. And at the moment, the black foils are the fastest boat on the course. Spain are ahead. They've got the best chance for gains, but everyone absolutely tied together on a very, very short piece of string.
Gap to the leader is changing constantly. It's only a matter of meters.
That's because nothing's in it. At the moment, it looks like the wind's rotated a little bit left. We can see New Zealand and Australia, they're progressing up our ladder lines very quickly, but they're going to need the wind to shift. If they can get a shift, it will be good news for New Zealand. If the wind stays as it is, it should be fine for Spain, but the black foils, wow, Berling, when the pressure's on, you think he's made a mistake, and they seem to have a turbo button.
So New Zealand, as it stands right now, they are in 1st place. They would make it into the final with their good friends, the Australians, and Spain would join them. Canada's still in the mix, so don't count out Phil Robertson just yet.
Tom, I don't believe it. The New Zealand crew have just absolutely powered past Australia. They have the right of way against Spain. The black foils could be winning this at the next gate.
Coming off a 6th place in the last race, it looks like they were left on the side of the road for dead, and here they are in the lead on this shorter race. Just 5 legs here in fleet race number 5.
Oh, you kidding me? Now look at it, the wind has shifted to the right. They're sailing nearly up the course here. It's like watching Neo from the Matrix read the breeze out there at the moment. He's just seeing it in digital form on board that Black Foils boat.
And there you've got the points as it currently stands. Australia on 40, Kiwis on 37, Spain and Canada tied on 35, but with Spain ahead of Canada, that means they win that tiebreak and would go through to the final.
Well, these last 2 legs are going to be exciting. Everyone trying to get in the top 3 position, and then we will have the event final for you. Only the top 3 teams battling out for 10, 9, and 8 points respectively in the overall season.
Here we go, big moment as we come into the top of the course here. I think for New Zealand fans, maybe you can take a little bit of a breath and relax a bit, because they look well lined up. They're sailing parallel to this yellow ley line. Should mean they've got a good chance of making the top gate with no more manoeuvres, but the wind is still rotated to the right. The shorter distance to sail is going to be the Spanish boat, so they're going to be back in the mix here. Canada struggling. Denmark, well, Denmark, when the pressure's on, they nailed a perfect start, and now they cannot make it stick.
A lot of chatter out on the course. Everyone wondering where the wind is going. Where will it be on these final 2 legs? Let's check in with Lisa Darman and down on the water. Lisa, what are you seeing? Where's the favorable side?
Well, currently, I do think that there is more pressure on the right-hand side, and if they do come to this side, which is what has been working the other ones, then they get a really nice approach to that last turning mark, because I really think where the teams tactically position themselves on that last turning mark to the finish is really going to be the crux of this.
We'll see how it all plays out. Remember, it's a short course today from yesterday, just 5 legs as opposed to 7, so they'll make their way down to the bottom, and then it'll be a left-hand turn to the finish line. Everyone now scrapping for those last points to see who will be in the top 3.
Well, what an upwind leg there. I mean, that was one of the more dramatic SailGP upwind legs we've seen. Sehested out the back. That's disaster for Rotterdam, Denmark. Disaster for their season. Bottin here, 3rd position he shows out at the moment, but he needs to overtake the French if he's going to hope to make the final.
And it all depends what's happening in that pack at the back. The Canadians at the moment are neck and neck with the Brits and the Swiss. So if they can stay in that position, good news for them, bad news for Spain, but it wouldn't take much for it to flip-flop.
I think the important thing to remember here is with these points, if we see any tie breaks, it's whoever finishes ahead of whoever on the water in the last race. So that could be crucial here. It's not actually set in stone certain for New Zealand here, despite being out in the front, but they've got to continue to do everything they can.
Stevie, Canada had a disastrous start on this 5th race, but remember, they had a great day 1 where they finished in 2nd place twice and then came up with a 6th on the 3rd race, but a 2nd again on this last race has them with the points they need.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's all about consistency, isn't it? It's a 5-race series to get to the grand final. Of course, it changed a bit here. Tight cross, Australia, France. That could be important in the long term of this event. Comfortable for the French here. Left-hand side of our screens, Canada. They're pushing the course as wide as they can, but they're struggling to overtake boats. And I think they do still need a couple of places. The Black Foils, there's the yellow line. Suggests they should be able to make it to the next mark, the final mark, in fact, with no more turns after this. But it's the battle behind them that's going to make the difference.
And it's all eyes on Spain and Canada on opposite sides of the course right now. There you see on the right-hand side, it was Spain, Canada on the left-hand side, and Spain now, by virtue of moving to 2nd place ahead of France, has got a spot in the final.
Yes, but they are tied on points with Canada. So if Canada ends up gaining that 1 more position, if they can get ahead of the Brits, which, it's just flicked there, if they can hold that, that would put them in the final.
Do we need to pass a boat here, or just stay in front of GBR?
How interesting is that? Hearing from the coach, he's asking the coach on the shore, the technology in SailGP, unbelievable.
Here we go as they come to the finish line. Once again, pulling a rabbit out of the hat, it's the Kiwis as they come in and they will get the win.
Spain have got to keep clear. They've got to keep clear of France there. That could, oh my word, they pushed that. That surely, they're going to get away. It's an overtake anyway. The penalty should be cleared, but Australia coming in fast. They're going to shoot round the Spanish. I think this is disaster for Spain. Another penalty. They've got to lose distance. It was a blatant foul, but it's cleared there. Now here comes the Australians. This is disaster. The Aussie's going to get all the way round to 2nd.
This will cost the Spain that position in the final.
They just tried to force it too much with France, and Tom Slingsby takes advantage. Outeridge on board the Swiss boat 6, but for the Spanish, my lord, that's painful. But in the background, Spain are losing points. I think
this is getting far too complicated.
It's Canada that has dropped back to 9th place now. So Switzerland comes across in 6th, winners of the last race. Emirates GBR maybe doing Spain a solid, because Emirates GBR now in 7th with Sehested in 8th.
And with Canada making that error, that actually saves the Spanish, and that will see Australia, New Zealand, and the Spanish into the final.
Emily working overtime on the abacus. I mean, that thing was crazy. And for Canada, it started terribly, Stevie. In the middle of the pack, they worked their way up, and then that last leg just did them in.
Oh, and that could be the season. I mean, to me, that could be Canada's chance of making the season final gone in that one moment, because they've been sailing so well. They've got themselves right back in the mix. I thought they were a dead cert for the final, but if anything's sure, it's nothing sure.
Well, the makings are there, Stevie, Emily, when you've got the Aussies and the Kiwis in there together, and you throw in a little caliente Spanish, this is going to be a nice little dish.
Well, yeah, and this is, let's not forget, this is the top 3 teams on the season leaderboard as we stand at the moment, and they're only extending their lead in that position right now. So, good news, great opportunity for the Spanish here. You're up against the big guns, let's see what you got.
New Zealand, Australia, Spain, welcome to the final. The course is now 5 LG1, 5 LG1. The axis is 035, length is 0.6 nautical miles. Good luck.
There you go, so the axis, they're talking about the wind direction. The wind direction's blowing from 030, so just a little bit east of north out there on the water, and a 0.6 nautical mile leg. So it's similar leg to what we've had before. Quite a big course with 3 boats, and as all the teams have alluded to, we're on board with them now. It's going to be a little bit more of a boat speed race. They should be able to sail their own paths out there a bit more. But you can't help thinking in these conditions who gets first to Mark 1's pretty powerful.
It's going to be interesting here to see where the Spanish team set up. In that interview, Flo was really open with their plan going forward. He said, we don't want to be the most windward boat. So that's that left-hand side of the screen, that mark, they don't want to be there. So let's see where they do end up putting themselves.
Where you want to be and where you end up are supposedly 2 different things, especially when you've got the Aussies and the Kiwis going at it. And as Stevie pointed out, these are the top 3 teams on the overall standings, with New Zealand in 1st, Australia in 2nd, and Spain currently in 3rd.
Well, no good battle plan survives contact with the enemy at that first time. So here we go, New Zealand and Australia, they're tied together at the bottom. Spain are going to be the team with the run-up at things here. Right-hand side of our screen, that's the downwind end of the line. Most teams will want to be there. Most teams are going to be able to have a run-up. Spain and Australia and New Zealand up on the foils. Spain looking a little late on proceedings here. They got to pop up on the foils. There they go. They're going to wind it up at the top. Our pole predictor says they're perfectly placed at the moment. Rope-a-dope from the Spanish at the moment, as they are the most upwind boat. But can they get over the top of the black foils? Who can get it here? Pole predictor really showing the Spanish good. They make a late move down the line. How's your time in there, Botin? You look like you could have judged this just to perfect. Watch the line turn right. It's go here, the Spanish. What a move. They've slung onto the inside, timed it well. Fastest angle with New Zealand, but the Spanish have the tactical inside position. New Zealand are going to have to open the afterburners from here.
As they approach mark number 1, it is Spain out in front with New Zealand and Australia. This is the event final, the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix.
Oh, pole predictor looks pretty good from there. It's judged it well. Some move by Botin. He pulled it out the bag. They lead at mark 1. Australia at the back. Slingsby's going to be looking to make a move. And now, here we go. Time to settle the heart rates down. The Spanish now will be all about when do the boats behind manoeuvre? When can we make it to the gate with no more turns?
And the Spanish, currently the fastest boat on the course, almost 60 kilometers an hour there. On the breach, they have the highest average speed.
Once again, though, New Zealand done a lovely job with that little slingshot jibe, surprising the Spanish there. Spain have gone wide. They'll be enjoying the bit of space on the course. It's all about finding good wind now. You can see breeze moving down the course, but these boats go faster than the wind. So look slightly to the right of them for the wind they're going to sail into. Quite good news for Australia at the moment, but the Spanish still look fairly comfortable. Boat speed's very similar at the top of the mast, and it's going to be a couple more manoeuvres for New Zealand and Australia to get to the gate. It'll be interesting if Spain can get in there and won.
And there we go, the Spanish boat speed is building now. They are the fastest boat on the course, slightly more breeze, 22 kilometers an hour compared to 20 on Australia at the top of the screen.
The question is, though, can Diego Botín and the Spanish hold on to this lead? Two of the very best in the business, with Tom Slingsby and Peter Burling are in this race as well. This is a little longer than the race you saw just prior. This is a 7-leg race, Stevie, so does that change things, or is the Spanish team comfortable in holding them off for this long?
Well, it means you try and stay in the race a little bit more early on. I think the Spanish here are going to sail their own path. I think they're quite an easy opportunity to actually just turn in front of New Zealand and block their manoeuvre to the right turn. So I'm surprised they've given the Kiwis the leverage first, but they've had the first pick. They'll have been able to look for the wind, they'll have been able to make that choice, and now it kind of depends which way does the first wind shift goes. If the wind rotates towards the right of our screen, it'll be good news for the Spanish team. If it rotates left, good news for New Zealand and Australia. 8 seconds is a big gain at gate 1 though.
Well, the good news is we've got a reporter down on the water, Lisa Dorman, and what are you seeing? What do you think for the conditions with this being a 7-leg race?
I think a 7-leg race and also more room on the race course means that there's a little bit more opportunity for manoeuvres. But as we were hearing, it is a lot lighter. The manoeuvres are way more costly. Right now, Spain, they're in really good pressure. I think that they do have the better shift, so it's in the right, which means that they're sailing slightly less distance. I think that they will cross New Zealand in this. Australia, though, they look like they've lost on New Zealand.
And there are the wind speeds, just as Lisa has predicted. The Spanish are in better breeze and a better shift there. As we heard in the interview with Nicole, she did say the right-hand side was where they were ending up, or wanted to end up, and they did it.
Well, they did, but have a look at that. Remember, it was an 8-second difference at gate 2. Already the black foils have, well, it's got to be down to 2 seconds at most there. And when the boats meet up again, the rules-wise, who's got the right-of-way? Well, it'll be New Zealand that have the right-of-way. So if it is close, it's going to be pressure on Spain. But as we say, it's an open racetrack. But all the teams are choosing to sail fairly freely. I think the wind's fairly average on the shift at the moment. Both look like they're moving up the course fairly similar amount. But New Zealand are sailing to the side where traditionally, or not traditionally, where today we've seen a little bit more wind on average.
And when we look at the modes that these teams are sailing, so far we're seeing the Spanish sailing wider angles, so further away from the marks, but at a faster speed. Meanwhile, the Kiwis, sticking true to their form this weekend, they're sailing at a slightly slower speed, but they are sailing less distance and more direct towards the mark.
Look at that good angle of the wind for Spain at the moment. They're sailing nicely up the ladder lines, but right away with New Zealand in the background, they get a little high. Ooh, good catch. 100% foil flight time all round. Australia flying the highest at the moment, but New Zealand have the right of way. The Spanish are going to have to think about this. Do they turn in front of Spain? I think you try and turn in front of New Zealand if you can, but the Kiwis are going to be faster. Tight moment here. Spain owns the mark. The black foils have got the most speed at the moment. Spain holds on. Great tactical sailing by Botín. Expect an attack on this downwind from the black foils.
Diego Botín and the Spanish get to that yellow circle first. They take the priority. It slows down the Kiwis. And so now it is Spain who got the whole shot at mark number 1. They are back into first place. Burling now in second place. And this is going to be a great and very important leg, Stevie and Emily, as they make their way down course.
And we saw some expert boat handling there by the Spanish team. We saw as they turned that they kept both boards in the water for an extended period of time. And this is because it was crucial in that maneuver to stay up on the foils at all costs. So it is a little bit slower when you put both foils in the water for a long time, more drag, but it ensures you stay up on the foils and can get up to speed quickly.
Stevie, this position, though, are the black foils getting the disturbed air from Spain?
No, the black foils would be trying to put the disturbed air onto Spain, but I think the Spanish actually sailed an angle a little bit away from the wind to tactically position for this move. They positioned themselves well. They took a little loss to have a long-term gain. They will now be looking to put disturbed air down onto the New Zealand team, and that's going to be good down the rest of the leg.
And this on the bottom left is a little summary from that previous leg, so you can see what I was talking about with the Spanish sailing slightly more distant than the Kiwis. Well, the Kiwis are opting for that 2.0
It's really tight down here. There will be a little bit of disturbed air going onto the New Zealand boat, but not a lot. The Spanish have positioned really well. Fantastic tactical sailing. Took a little loss at the top for control, but expect the Kiwi. Here we go. Black foils are going to split away, and I think the right turn has worked well for them so far today. Both boats turned the mark, and it looks to me like what was 8 seconds is going to be 0 seconds. Absolutely neck and neck at that bottom mark there. 1 second in it, there's nothing in it. Who finds the most wind? Spain sailing to breeze, but what have New Zealand found on this side of the course?
And you heard Diego Botín say as they went around the gate, good pressure here, so he's looking to make some changes and hopefully pick up some distance.
And there's the live speeds, both wind speed and boat speed. The Spanish are sailing so quick at the moment, 50 kilometers an hour. They're only dropping now because they have turned.
Here we go. Pretty decisive moment in the race here. It looks like a nice choice early on the leg for the Spanish. Burling won't like what he sees at the moment, but if the wind rotates towards the left of the course, that will be good news for the black foils. Here we go. How well do they stick this manoeuvre?
Look at that choreography. Merlin comes across there and just keeps it up.
I think that was a pretty good manoeuvre. The wind looked a little bit light, but right now that is a gain to the Spanish. Big gain. Huge move there. 100-meter lead there in the blink of an eye. Opportunity here for the Spanish to lock things down. They're far enough ahead to turn the boat directly in front of New Zealand and get themselves going the same way. I'd be surprised if the Spanish continue and give a separation to New Zealand now.
And if you're just joining us, this is the event final at the Apex Group Bermuda Sail Grand Prix. These are the 3 teams with the most points. It is Spain out in front, New Zealand in second, Australia in third. They're going to go to the top of the course, come back down the course, and then a quick left-hander to the finish line. And in a matter of minutes, we're going to find out who's going to claim the title.
So the Spanish had a 100-meter lead there. It is dropping rapidly now down to almost only 60 meters of lead as they came across that bottom side of the course, giving a little more advantage to the Kiwis. It'll be interesting to see what happens after this next turn.
Steve, if I'm Spain and I see what the Black Foils have done all weekend long, I want a pretty sizable lead as I get around this next gate.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised they kind of let that gap open up. If the Spanish can make it to this gate with no more manoeuvres, I think that could be a good move there. But they're going to let separation form again with the black foils. It looks like the Spanish are setting up, so they're going to try and block New Zealand. They've got a big enough lead. I think, yeah, they look comfy. They look calm. There you go. No rush. Good comms from Florian Trittle. And yeah, I think the black foils, they're fast, but they're making some little mistakes. And here you go. They're trying to split away from the fleet. Huge amount of heel. Not a great manoeuvre by the black foils.
Look at the Kiwis.
They're trying to force things.
3, 2, 1, down.
So was that a case of the Kiwis see more pressure on that side of the course, or they just wanted to split the course and get away from the Spanish?
Last roll of the dice, I'd say that was, Todd, because they did not do a great manoeuvre. That was a last-minute decision. It's left the Aussies back in. They will have a chance on this downwind leg. At least they're on separate sides, but this is big advantage Spain right now.
To me, that final manoeuvre by Spain could have been the race-winning moment, forcing the Kiwis to turn away and come off the foils.
Whenever you say, Carmenita.
And don't look now, but Tom Slingsby back in the mix. He would love to pick up another position and somehow pass Peter Burley and the Kiwis. Remember, nothing will change in the overall, despite the fact that these 3 teams are battling in the event final, because this is 1, 2, and 3. Remember, it's 10 points to the winner, 9 for second, 8 for third. And with New Zealand with a 9-point lead on Australia, they will not lose the overall, but Australia would love to pick up yet another point.
Yeah, I think at the moment the Spanish crew are sailing back into good wind here, right of ways with New Zealand, but that's too big a lead here. Botín and Trittle have absolutely nailed this one. They've put a brilliant race together after a perfect start. Advantage Spain at the moment if they can make it with no more manoeuvres. It looks good, like at the moment they look like they're aiming for that mark, and they're comfy on New Zealand.
Spain all dressed up and looking for suitors as they are looking for new sponsorships, and what a way to put this on your CV.
Pressure here, looks good.
Very nice indeed, as Diego Botín comes around this last mark. Winners in Los Angeles, and it is Spain who gets into the final here in Bermuda by a tiebreaker, and give it up for the Spanish. They will claim the victory here in Bermuda.
Oh, vamos the gas.
Amazing moment for this Spanish team, stealing the win from the Australians and the New Zealanders.
What a moment. I mean, what an arrival in SailGP, really, to beat the 2 top teams by a long way. It's a great result again for the Black Foils. Australia, well, they'll be happy to get the wheels back on the bus, but for Spain, what an incredible result, and well done to that crew, because they nailed the start when the pressure was on.
One of the youngest teams in SailGP, and they come up with yet another victory. They back up Los Angeles with a big win here in Bermuda.